Chosen ones, God can't keep this hidden anymore. God has made the decision. Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in time when something shifts so quietly that the world doesn't hear it, but everything begins to change because of it. This is one of those moments. You did not arrive here by accident. You did not click listen or pause on these words by coincidence. There is an unseen hand guiding you to this message, because something that has been hidden for a long time is now being brought into the light. Not by human decision, not by timing, not by luck, but by divine order. For too long, many of you have felt like you were living behind a curtain. You've known deep inside that there is more to your life than what has been visible. You've sensed that your story carries weight, that your presence has purpose, that your journey is not ordinary. Yet season after season, you were overlooked, misunderstood, delayed, or kept in places that felt smaller than who you truly are. You tried to stay patient. You tried to stay faithful. You tried to stay strong, even when no one else could see the fire inside you. And that is because what God was forming in you was never meant to be rushed. Hidden things grow strong. Seeds develop roots in darkness before they ever break through the soil. And the deeper the root, the higher the tree will rise. Many of you have been in that unseen place, where it felt like nothing was happening, but in truth everything was happening. Your mind was being trained. Your faith was being strengthened. Your identity was being refined. What you are experiencing now, the inner stirring, the restlessness, the sense that something is about to happen, is not anxiety. It is alignment. It is the sound of destiny moving into position. It is the moment when heaven has quietly concluded that you are ready. And when that decision is made, the world has no choice but to follow. You see, reality does not lead, belief leads. The world does not decide your future, your inner knowing does. When God places a new understanding within you, a new assumption about who you are, everything around you must reorganize itself to match it. Doors that were once closed begin to open. People who never noticed you begin to see you. Opportunities that were nowhere to be found begin to seek you out, not because you chased them, but because you stepped into who you really are. This is why you are here today. Not to be entertained, not to be distracted, but to be reminded of the truth about yourself. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are right on time, standing at the edge of the moment God has chosen to reveal you. What has been hidden is now being unveiled. What has been delayed is now being released. And what has been silently prepared is now being presented to the world. This is not the end of a waiting season. This is the beginning of a revealing season. And once it begins, nothing can stop it. What was hidden was never forgotten. It was protected. There is a difference between being overlooked and being concealed by divine design. Many of you spent years wondering why your gifts were not seen, why your voice was not amplified, why your presence seemed to go unnoticed while others advanced ahead of you. But what you did not realize is that visibility too early can be more dangerous than invisibility. What God was forming inside you could not be exposed before it was fully rooted. The world does not know how to handle what is powerful but not yet anchored. So heaven placed you behind the veil not to deny you, but to develop you. In the unseen place, something sacred happens. The ego falls away. The hunger becomes pure. The need for validation disappears. You stop trying to be chosen by people because you begin to feel chosen within. That inner knowing is the greatest protection any soul can have. It is in that place of stillness and obscurity that your true identity was being engraved into your spirit. You were not becoming like others. You were becoming yourself, and that is why the delay was necessary. But every season has an appointed hour. There comes a moment when what has been planted must break the soil. Not because it wants to, but because it must. The seed does not decide when it will rise. The life inside it pushes upward when it is ready. In the same way, what God placed within you has reached its moment of expansion. It has grown too large to remain confined. The silence that once surrounded you can no longer contain the frequency you now carry. When God makes a decision, it does not always announce itself with noise. It begins as a shift in the unseen. Suddenly, you start to feel different. You no longer doubt your worth the way you once did. You no longer question your path the way you used to. You start walking with a quiet confidence that does not need permission. That is the signal. That is how you know heaven has moved. The decision is not written in the sky, it is written in your consciousness. Once that decision is made, everything else must adjust. People who were blind to you will begin to notice you. Situations that once blocked you will start to dissolve. Even resistance will transform into redirection. Not because the world became kinder, but because it is now responding to the authority you are standing in. Reality does not argue with certainty, it obeys it. For a long time, you were underestimated because you were in preparation. Now you are being recognized because you are in alignment. Those are two completely different states. When you are in preparation, you are protected from exposure. When you are in alignment, you are pulled into visibility. This is why things feel like they are moving faster now. The delays are no longer needed. The structure has been built. The foundation has been laid. What is coming forward will not collapse under pressure, because it has already survived pressure in secret. There are people who will say you came out of nowhere. They will not know the nights you spent growing in the dark. They will not know the battles you fought when no one was watching. They will not know the moments you almost gave up, but chose to hold on anyway. They will only see the rise. But you will know the truth. Nothing about this is sudden. It is simply revealed. What is hidden cannot remain hidden when it is carrying purpose. Purpose creates a gravitational pull. It draws opportunity, recognition, and alignment toward it. That is what is happening to you now. The world is being magnetized toward the truth of who you are. You are not trying to be seen anymore. You are being discovered. This is why some of you feel uncomfortable lately. Old environments no longer fit. Old conversations no longer satisfy. Old patterns no longer hold you. That is not confusion. That is expansion. You are outgrowing the container that once held you. And when that happens, God does not shrink you. He enlarges the space around you. There is a divine intelligence guiding this process. You may think you are choosing new directions, but in reality, you are being guided into the places that can sustain who you have become. Your new level requires new ground. Your new awareness requires new relationships. Your new identity requires new platforms. That is why everything that no longer matches you is quietly falling away. You were hidden because you were being refined. You are now being revealed because you are ready. There is no rush and there is no delay. There is only alignment. And alignment always brings acceleration. Some of you are beginning to see signs of this. A call you did not expect, an opportunity that seemed unlikely, a door opening where there used to be a wall. These are not coincidences. These are confirmations. They are the physical echoes of a spiritual decision that has already been made. You do not have to prove yourself to step into this next season. You only have to remain in the knowing of who you are. The more you accept the truth of your identity, the more the world will reflect it back to you. This is how revelation works. It begins within and unfolds without. What was hidden has matured. What was delayed has ripened. What was unseen has gained weight and authority. And now it is emerging, not as a question, but as a declaration. You are not stepping into something new. You are stepping into what has always been yours. Everything begins with an inner conclusion. Long before anything changes on the outside, something quietly shifts within. The world you see is only the shadow of what you have accepted about yourself. For a long time, many of you were carrying powerful potential, but your inner posture was still waiting for permission. You were hoping, you were praying, you were desiring. But now something has changed. You are no longer asking if it will happen. You know it has been decided. And that knowing is what forces reality to move. When God places a new assumption inside you, it is not loud. It does not come with fireworks or announcements. It comes as certainty. You wake up one day and something feels different. You walk differently. You speak differently. You no longer feel small in rooms where you once shrank. You no longer doubt your value when you are overlooked. That shift is not arrogance. It is alignment. It is the moment when heaven has updated your self-image. And the world has no choice but to reflect the self-image you accept. For years, you may have believed that circumstances had power over you. That money, people, timing, or systems determined what was possible. But all of those are only mirrors. They respond to the identity you hold. When God decides to elevate you, the first thing He changes is not your situation. He changes your assumption of who you are. You stop seeing yourself as someone trying to make it. You begin seeing yourself as someone who has already been chosen. That is when things begin to move. Notice how when you are confident, doors open more easily. When you expect good, opportunities appear. When you feel worthy, people treat you with respect. That is not coincidence. That is law. The inner state commands the outer experience. And right now, your inner state is being rewritten by divine authority. You may not be able to explain it, but you feel it. You are no longer desperate. You are no longer chasing. You are no longer trying to convince anyone. There is a calm confidence growing inside you that says, what is meant for me is already on its way. That is the assumption God has planted in you. And that assumption is now rearranging everything. This is why some of you are seeing sudden changes. People who once ignored you now reach out. Situations that were stuck begin to move. Even obstacles seem to dissolve without effort. It is not because the world has become easier. It is because you have changed your position within it. You are no longer standing in lack. You are standing in expectation. Expectation is powerful. It tells the universe what you are available for. When you expect nothing, you receive nothing. When you expect struggle, you experience struggle. But when God shifts your expectation, when He moves you into the state of, I am chosen, I am ready, I am worthy, the universe scrambles to deliver experiences that match that state. That is why your life feels like it is speeding up. You are in alignment with a higher identity. You do not have to force this process. You only have to stay faithful to the new self-concept God has given you. When doubt comes, you return to the knowing. When fear rises, you return to the certainty. When old patterns try to pull you back, you remain in the assumption that you are already walking in your next level. This is how miracles happen. Not by begging, but by believing. Your outer world is a stage, and your inner world is the script. When God edits the script, the actors have to follow it. People will play new roles in your story. Some will support you. Some will step aside. Some will disappear. All of it is part of the rearrangement. You are not losing anything that belongs to your future. You are only releasing what belongs to your past. This new assumption is not fragile. It is rooted in divine truth. You are not pretending to be chosen. You are accepting that you are. You are not imagining a better life. You are aligning with the one that has already been prepared for you. And that alignment is what makes it real. Some of you have been waiting for proof before you believe. But that is not how this works. Belief comes first. Evidence follows. When God changes your inner conviction, the outer world catches up. That is why you are being asked to walk by faith now, not by sight. Sight is always behind. Do not be surprised if things fall into place quickly. Do not be shocked when opportunities come out of nowhere. Do not be confused when people treat you differently. You have stepped into a new assumption, and the universe is simply responding. You are no longer living as someone who hopes. You are living as someone who knows. And when you know, everything changes. Every delay you experienced was not an accident, it was an assignment. Every person who overlooked you, every door that refused to open, every season that seemed unfair was quietly working in your favor. At the time, it felt like rejection. It felt like being pushed to the back of the line while others were chosen ahead of you. But in truth, those people and those situations were unknowingly holding your spotlight until you were fully prepared to step into it. There are levels of visibility that require maturity. There are stages that demand stability. If you had been given certain platforms too early, you would have been crushed by them. If you had been elevated before you were anchored, the weight of attention, responsibility, and expectation would have pulled you apart. So God allowed others to go before you, not because they were more worthy, but because they were filling time while you were being formed. Those who doubted you, underestimated you, or even tried to block you were not powerful enough to stop your destiny. They were simply part of the delay that made you ready. Their resistance gave you time to grow stronger. Their absence forced you to find your own voice. Their rejection pushed you deeper into your purpose. Without realizing it, they were shaping you. This is why, when you look back now, you can see that nothing was wasted. The very people who hurt you were teaching you how to trust yourself. The environments that confined you were teaching you how to expand. The seasons that felt stagnant were teaching you patience, discipline, and inner strength. All of it was training for the moment you are entering now. And now that moment has arrived. The authority they once seemed to have over your life has been removed. The power to delay you has been withdrawn. The influence they had to define you has been broken. You are no longer subject to their opinions, their choices, or their timing. God has taken back the pen and rewritten your story. This is why you are seeing shifts in relationships. Some people are becoming distant. Some are acting strange. Some are suddenly reaching out after long silence. This is not random. This is the rearrangement. Those who were never meant to walk into your next chapter are stepping out. Those who will witness your elevation are stepping in. And those who once stood in front of you are now being moved behind you. There is something powerful about divine reversal. When God decides it is your time, those who once had the advantage no longer do. The ones who had access no longer have it. The ones who spoke over you no longer have authority. Everything flips. You move forward. They remain where they are. But this is not about revenge. It is about alignment. It is about God restoring the natural order of things. You were always meant to rise. You were always meant to be seen. You were always meant to step into a greater role. The delay was never denial, it was development. Some of you spent years feeling like you were invisible. You watched others receive what you prayed for. You saw doors open for people who seemed less prepared than you. You wondered why you had to wait while others advanced. But now you understand. You were being prepared for something that required depth, not speed. Now, when your moment arrives, you will not crumble under pressure. You will not lose yourself in applause. You will not be confused by attention. You will walk in it with grace and clarity because you were trained in the dark. This is why the people who once doubted you will now have to watch you succeed. Not because you are better than them, but because you are aligned with your purpose. And alignment is unstoppable. Do not be surprised when some of the same people who ignored you begin to praise you. Do not be shocked when those who once questioned you now seek your guidance. This is what happens when divine timing takes over. The script changes. The roles reverse. The story turns in your favor. You do not have to explain yourself. You do not have to justify your growth. You do not have to prove that you deserve this. Your journey has already qualified you. The delays were not a punishment. They were a protection. They kept you safe while you were becoming who you needed to be. And now that you are ready, nothing can hold you back. The stage is no longer occupied by those who were just filling space. It is being cleared for the one who was meant to stand there all along. Something profound happens when God shifts how the world sees you. You are still the same person with the same heart, the same values, the same vision. But suddenly people respond to you differently. The room grows quiet when you speak. Your presence carries weight. Your words land with authority. This is not because you changed your personality. It is because your spiritual frequency has changed. You are now broadcasting who you truly are, and the world is finally tuning in. For a long time, you may have felt invisible. You may have wondered why people overlooked you, misunderstood you, or failed to recognize the depth of what you carried. But invisibility was not rejection, it was concealment. You were being kept from premature exposure. Now that the inner work is complete, God is reprogramming how the world perceives you. The same face, the same name, the same story, but seen through a new lens. This is how favor works. Favor does not give you something new. It changes how what already belongs to you is received. Suddenly your ideas are valued. Your presence is respected. Your voice is sought after. Doors that once seemed locked begin to open because the doorkeepers now recognize who you are. You are no longer treated as ordinary because you are no longer resonating at an ordinary level. Everything in this world responds to vibration. People do not react to what you say as much as they react to who you are being. And who you are being has shifted. God has elevated your internal state, and the external world is adjusting to match it. That is why opportunities are appearing where there used to be obstacles. That is why support is showing up where there used to be resistance. You did not have to force this change. You did not have to prove yourself. You simply aligned with the truth of who you are. When you accepted your identity, the world followed. This is why some of you feel different when you walk into familiar places. The room does not feel the same. The conversations do not feel the same. The energy has changed. It is not because the environment is different. It is because you are. And everything around you is responding to that difference. There is a magnetic quality to alignment. When you are in sync with your purpose, things that belong to you are drawn to you. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer beg, you receive. You no longer explain, you are recognized. This new level of recognition is not about ego. It is about clarity. People can sense when someone knows who they are. That knowing creates trust, it creates respect, it creates opportunity. And that knowing is what God has placed inside you. You are now operating from a higher frequency of self-awareness. You no longer see yourself as someone trying to get somewhere. You see yourself as someone who is already on their way. That subtle shift changes everything. The world mirrors the confidence you hold. The universe echoes the expectation you carry. That is why your life is feeling lighter. You are no longer fighting against who you are. You are flowing with it. Some of you will be surprised by how quickly things begin to change. People who never supported you will suddenly advocate for you. Places that once rejected you will now welcome you. Opportunities that once felt impossible will now feel natural. This is not because the world suddenly became generous. It is because the world is now recognizing the value you have always had. Do not shrink back from this. Do not try to make yourself smaller to keep others comfortable. You were not elevated to hide. You were elevated to be seen. Your presence is meant to shift rooms. Your voice is meant to move people. Your story is meant to inspire. This new level of visibility comes with responsibility. You are now a reflection of what alignment looks like. People will watch how you move. They will listen to how you speak. They will feel the peace you carry, and that will awaken something in them. This is how light spreads. Not by force, but by example. You are not being put on display to be judged. You are being revealed to be recognized. And recognition is the doorway to impact. Everything you went through was preparing you for this. The quiet seasons taught you humility. The hard seasons taught you strength. The lonely seasons taught you self-trust. Now you are ready to be seen without losing yourself. The world is being reprogrammed to see you clearly. And when that happens, everything that belongs to you will find you. When God makes a decision, it is final. There is no appeal process in the universe that can overturn a divine decree. Once heaven has spoken over your life, every force in creation must reorganize itself to comply. That is not poetic language, it is spiritual law. You are not walking towards something uncertain. You are moving inside something that has already been settled. For a long time, you may have felt like everything in your life was unstable. Plans shifted, people changed. Doors opened and closed without warning. But that instability was not chaos, it was transition. God was clearing the old structure so the new one could be built. You cannot move into a new identity while standing on an old foundation. Something had to give. And now that it has, what God has decided can finally take shape. You are no longer in a season of negotiation. You are in a season of confirmation. What you sense in your spirit is not hope, it is recognition. You recognize yourself now. You recognize your calling. You recognize that you are no longer meant to struggle the way you once did. That recognition is the echo of God's decision inside you. Nothing outside of you can cancel what has been accepted within you. This is why fear is losing its grip. This is why doubt no longer feels convincing. This is why you no longer panic the way you used to. The internal war is over. You are no longer divided between who you were and who you are becoming. You have chosen. And once you choose, the universe must align. When God decides to elevate someone, He also removes their dependence on circumstances. You no longer look to people for validation. You no longer wait for permission to move. You no longer need signs to believe. You move because you know. That knowing is your power. You may still face obstacles, but they will no longer stop you. They will only redirect you. You may still encounter delays, but they will no longer discourage you. They will only position you. Everything is now working with you instead of against you because you are working with who you truly are. This is what it means to walk in divine authority. You do not force things to happen. You expect them to. An expectation is a command to reality. There will be moments when the old world tries to pull you back. Old fears, old voices. But those things no longer have jurisdiction over you. They belong to a version of you that no longer exists. You have crossed a line. There is no returning. The reason things are accelerating now is because resistance has lost its power. You are no longer arguing with your destiny. You are agreeing with it. An agreement is the key that unlocks everything. Do not underestimate how powerful it is to be in agreement with God's decision about your life. When you accept that you are chosen, favored, and guided, the universe begins to conspire on your behalf. People will show up at the right time. Resources will appear when you need them. Opportunities will meet you where you are, not because you are lucky, but because you are aligned. Alignment creates inevitability. What is meant for you is not optional. It is not dependent on chance. It is written into the fabric of who you are. You cannot miss it any more than a river can miss the ocean. You may take different paths, but you will arrive. This is why you can rest. You do not have to worry about being left behind. You do not have to fear being forgotten. You do not have to struggle to be seen. God's decision has already guaranteed your outcome. You are not waiting for your breakthrough. You are walking inside it. Everything that is happening now, the shifts, the endings, the beginnings, the clarity, the momentum, is proof that heaven has spoken. And when heaven speaks, the earth listens. Nothing can reverse what God has decided. Not people, not timing, not circumstances, not even your past. Your future has already been secured.